So my name is Travis Stratton. I'm a research analyst here with the National Community Review Board, and I have the pleasure of introducing our panel. This panel is titled School Resource Officers, Building Safe School Environments and Technology in Schools. And so the whole idea behind this panel and this topic is to talk about and generate conversations from a student, parent, school resource officer, and a school leader perspective about safety in schools. We do know that there are lots of challenges, but new exciting endeavors that our school system here at Metro Nashville Public Schools and some of our charter schools and also private schools have endeavored into. And so we want to jump into this conversation, trying to get the voices and the perspectives of our panel. So I will let our panel introduce themselves. Let's start with you, Caleb.
I'm Caleb Thompson, a rising 10th grader at Stratford.
I'm Kayla Pillow. I am the parent of Caleb.
I'm Officer Pye. We just call me Pye. I'm the SRO at Protocol, and I've been there 9 years now.
Cool.
I'm Officer John Checks. I'm a new SRO in Nashville, but I've been in law enforcement for over 30 years. I came from New York recently.
Dr. Michael Pratt, Executive Principal of Stratford STEM High School.
Hey, what's this?
Perfect. Thank you to our esteemed panel. So again, I'll just frame the conversation and ask a question, and give your perspective wearing your lens. Obviously, the lens of a young person, Kayla, KP, the lens of a parent, Pi and Jex, lens of a police officer, and then Dr. Pratt, your lens of a school leader. So when you think about safety in school, wearing your lens, what role, positive or negative, do you feel like school resource officers play in shaping that experience for young people?
For me, I think they play a pretty positive role. With my experiences with my school resource officers, pretty good. They're pretty friendly, but they know how to keep us safe, I guess. I feel safe at school stuff.
And just to counter with what he said also, the resource officers at his school are pretty well, they do well at keeping the school safe. They're personable. I know them by name. If I have an issue, I know that I can go speak with them, and I know that they're going to get on it, whatever it may be. It can be minimal, it can be big, but if it's a concern to me, outside of going to the principal, I know that I can also go to them. They're going to do their job.
Yeah, officers, resource officers, our two objectives initially are the protection of the people and the protection of the property, people on the property. I think it's very important that young people have the opportunity to have a peaceful education without the thought of harm being coming to them. So we try to make ourselves very visible in those hallways, making rounds, interacting with young people, letting them know that we are there for them as a resource officer and that they can come and talk to us, which like I've been at Borough Council going on 9 years now. So a lot of my students, which I wish some of them were here today, could tell you that, hey, I'm silly, I'm a regular guy, I have 4 children of my own. Guess what? I can't be where my kids are. So I have to hope that those people that are in charge of being protectors of my 4 young men are doing their jobs, that they're getting the proper training that they need, that the resource officers are being visual, things of that nature. So it's very important that we as officers, that we are very visible in those schools to make sure that no harm, and that people that may want to come do harm, that may know like, okay, it's an officer there and that we're gonna move on.
I'd like to follow up with what Officer Pye said. But one of the other things we also do is we maintain the cameras. We will be there for we're in our office. We're just not, looking at Netflix or watching TV. I have over 50 cameras in my school. I know which everyone sees. I know every dead spot in that school. I know the 3 different places you can hide, and I know how to get there quickly. Also, if there's a medical emergency or anything that would not be a traditional question or a problem, we might be able to fix it or be get you to the resource to handle it. So we do a lot of different things, and I think with my school, what I really enjoy is that they consider me part of faculty. The first time I got invited to a faculty meeting, and I'm like, "What's up? Am I in trouble?" But then I realized, hey, you know what? I'm a part of the team, and I am another resource. So there are a lot of there are some situations that sometimes the kids, and I know this happens also, I feel more comfortable talking to him and getting the stuff off his chest than anybody else in the school building at that time. So I think us being there and being consistently there and being just another level, another asset to utilize, I think that's very important.
I'd like to say, I think one of the key things is relationship over rules, and I think our SROs always do that. And even with me, if I tell a kid before I tell him to take off his hat, I say good morning. So I think the relationship before I did the rules, that our SROs have those relationships with those kids. So when they're breaking up a fight or they're getting a fight, or kids come to them to say, hey, we got some issues going on. So the main thing I think is just SROs and people, everyone in the building, making sure that we reiterate that we got to establish those relationships. And I just think I always tell the teachers is we can't have violence, and education can't operate in the same place. If you're worried about fighting and violence, you won't learn again. This is the way stress works. And so we have the first thing that they do is all of us making sure that we have a safe building and a safe place. So I'm very appreciative of our SROs and just the relationships that they have. They are some of the most restorative people in the building, and that's what we got most coming.
Appreciate that. You talked a lot about relationships and the importance of relationships with the school resource officers and the students, even to your point, Officer Pye, with faculty. I'm curious, Dr. Pratt, with you as a school leader, what does a truly welcoming environment look like? We have to consider faculty, have to consider students, and then also the SROs who are at your school. Like, what does that truly look like from a top-down perspective?
I think it's. I was talking to this young lady right here. We had a good conversation about talking about just the medical field and African American people. And one of the things is kind of metaphor, which is poor people don't use the doctor because of insurance and other things. So when they go to the hospital, it's when something happens really bad. Whereas wealthy people have a physician, they have a great relationship. So we have to kind of change the interaction with our officers where we're having a great relationship before. It's not just when something happens bad. And I think a lot of it is establishing those positive relationships beforehand. But the main thing is just not putting it on the officers. Everybody is responsible for safety and building those relationships and welcoming kids when they come to the building, making them feel good. If somebody misses 2 or 3 days, where you been? We missed you. We're needing to see you here. Visibility, having those officers in the hallway, people in the hallway. So it's just, I think at Stratford, what we try to do is not put all that on the officers, not put it on teachers and the principals. Everybody needs to be visible. Everybody needs to be restoring, having quality conversations and building relationships. So whatever we're all doing that, it's not just on them. And that's just the way it is. Now, I don't want to take all the time, but I do want to tell a story where we had a new SRO come to our school. My 2 SROs from the high school walking, middle school new SROs coming, and the kids, a group of boys, and they said, "Who is that police officer?" They don't even see our SROs as police; they see it as just human people. But they were like, "That's a police officer." I was like, "Man, they don't even." So it's just they've been able to establish a regular relationship and kind of change the age and stuff. So I just think it's being welcoming, establishing those relationships, important.
Appreciate that.
And before we will have questions or opportunity for members of the audience to ask questions. But curious for the 2 SROs on a panel, what are some of the biggest misconceptions or challenges when it comes to either working with a school leader or a parent or students in general that you face as a school resource officer?
Well, we're not there disciplinary. I like the word that Dr. Pratt used, restorative. We're very restorative nowadays with trainings that we were talking. that we've got. Just last week I had what is called CIC training, crisis intervention training, which bring in like some of our mental health partners in care, I think, are part of it as well. So we've learned over the years ACEs, adverse childhood effects, PCEs, positive childhood effects. We talked about the frontal lobe. We start getting into a lot of things that are outside of like law enforcement that we typically would just see. So we're not just in there, as a disciplinarian. We're not disciplinary. So a lot of times we're trying to build those relationships, and so we'll have a young person that will come in, and maybe they're experiencing something going on that day, and so we'll a lot of times partner with mental health co-op that are a lot of times in the building. We have social workers that are in the building. We have counselors that are there in the building, coaches, teachers. Like I say, a lot of these young people, they have relationships, and as you're there in the hallway, you see relationships that they have with a lot of people and a lot of relationships that they have with us. So it may be, Brother Jex here is a lot more closer to one of the students, and I may say, hey, I would tap him in, hey, so-and-so, their demeanor's a little bit off. We stand there at the door, and I know we have our evolve system now, I know that we're gonna talk about, but we stand there at the door, we just over the years, my partner and I, we greet the kids coming in, the young people coming in, and we see the demeanor. And some students, like they're just not wanting people, so maybe that's why they may be a little attitude or what have you. But some students that maybe are a little more outgoing today, they're just, something's off. You'll notate it. You'll say, hey, something's off with John today. And we just kind of monitor it as the day goes on. You may have somebody that checks in a little later on. So yeah, we're a little bit unorthodox, I think, here in Metro Nashville Police Department over the years. When I first came on, some of the training we got now we didn't have, so we're a little bit more, maybe seen maybe more rest back then, but now just because the student is a little disorderly or having a blackout moment or crashing out or whatever, it doesn't mean that they're going to go to juvenile. It may mean that we may try to, hey, calm down. We get them in the class, calm down, and then see what's going on, and start peeling back those layers and seeing what's going on.
Good. And also, just to add on to what he's saying, because I was a student of MNPS, and now Aaron of a student of MNPS, and there is a difference from when the SROs were around when I was in school, because we only saw them when there was a fight or some type of big outbreak happening at the school. But now I even see them in the drop off and pickup line. They may be also directing traffic, or speaking to the parents, hey, how y'all doing? We hope y'all having a good day. So we only don't see them in one aspect of, like he said, being a disciplinarian. They're showing up, building the relationships, and now they're a part of the school faculty. So when I go into the school for whatever is going on, whether it's during school hours or outside of school hours, I'm seeing them as well, not just to keep the school safe, but to also build that camaraderie with the kids and the teachers. So it is a difference from even when I was in high school to now, which is good to see, because we do want them to be comfortable to go to these individuals when there are incidents happening and not be fearful or afraid.
So on the lines of the changes that and the new advancements in terms of relationship building, the new trainings, there's a new technology called Evolve, which is a weapon detection technology. Just curious, KP, as a parent, how does that ensure your sense or lack of safety for your son or your kids attending a Metro Nashville Public School?
Well, only just speaking on, of course, the perspective of a parent from my son's school, I will say it's an added safety measure, but I do believe that the SROs and the staff at my son's school were already doing certain things that needed to be done to ensure the safety. So the evolve system to me is just something else to kind of help them out. But I do think it does, when you think about school shootings and things like that, it does kind of reassure you, because that evolve system is able to catch it at the door versus the schools whoever coming on in the building, and we're not knowing that they have these weapons or items on them. So I do think it does. I do think it gives a little more reassurance, but I can't say that his school, safety plans send out to the parents. The communication is there, so it just adds a little more to it.
And then Caleb, curious as a student, what has been your experiences and your thoughts and feelings of the evolved weapon detection system?
I think it works good, that moment. I just know, I definitely had a time where I had a little splatter ball gun, and it definitely works. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's curious, Dr. Pratt, Officer Jackson, what is your experiences and thoughts and feelings behind the evolved technology system?
Well, I work in a middle school, but the few times that I've been up at the high school to help out, what the young man said, it works, right? And that does find just not guns, but metal objects that could be used to conceal contraband or edge weapons. So it's a piece of equipment that does actually.
I'll say the same thing. Just yesterday, we had a student in a summer program with an Orbi gun, which looks like a gun that shoots pellets, but it's sent off the alarm to the system saying that there was a gun in the building. So any kind of gun is going to make that go off. And then all of the students, even the staff, have to come through one door, and there's weapons detection system. So everybody has to leave out. They can leave out one door, but when you come in the building, you have to come in one door. So it just helped me sleep at night, really. Because prior to that, we had wands, and we just kind of just going around the scene and something like that gun. So it's a great system, I think.
And we got 5 more minutes. We'll take at least 2-3 questions from members of the audience.
Hi, my name is Tanya Wheaton. I didn't have a child in MNTS now, and I have my niece who both don't know the code. But I was wondering if the eval come. The children may know, but most people here may know, but they don't know what that system makes.
So that's the system. The evolve system is it's a system where you have 2 towers, kind of like when you go to the airport, and when you walk through, what the students will do is have a backpack on, take their backpack off, take their computer off, because they take the computer, give it to someone, and then they'll walk through. If they have a weapon, a knife, or anything like that, it'll detect that. There are people in the front, and they can see that on the screen, and they'll have a little red circle saying, this person has a knife in their backpack. That's the other something, so you'll see. And we pull those people to the side to have them do an extra check. Someone comes in the building with the guns or anything, you'll see it before they come. So we're doing it. All schools? All of the high schools. And they're working on the middle schools and elementary schools this year. But it's in every high school.
Yeah, it detects, they have an acronym BLUE, so it's B for binders, laptops, L, umbrellas, U, and I glass cases. So the students ultimately have to remove those items, or anybody that's going to go through that system, remove those items prior to. You usually have a crew of people that set up, so you have a table to the side, those persons grabbing those items to pull them back, get them back to the other side once they go through that machinery. The machinery is ultimately to detect weapons of mass destruction. So anything that may look like it's going to do some type of harm, you're just going to alert it on a laptop of some sort where another person monitoring, and they will put that individual to the side and kind of look at that person a little bit more closer. But then other than that, I think it's capable of flowing about 2,000 people per hour through. So, it's not a disruption to the school day. Students have gotten used to it. A lot of times we have probably more issues with adults coming through, but the students themselves, they here we go, and they're going about their business to school. So that's usually where we're reading our young people and trying to kind of downplay that system. So I think a lot of times the students are used to it nowadays. So
inside.
Yeah, it's like an AI type thing. It looks at, like anything that may protrude as a weapon or some sort, or weapon of mass destruction, it is going to put like a box upon it. And that person might at that point have to come to the side and be observed a little bit closer.
you have that evolve system in the front, but then on every metro school camera, high school camera, you have if someone put out guns, wasn't an SRO, it would detect him, send an alert. So that's why, like yesterday, the Orby gun student just in the hallway put it out the backpack, went off. Hey, you got a gun in this school, people are SROs, looking for a gun. What's up?
Okay, well, I can't. I had a principal like, as long as you be working at the principal, why do you get the students to like be like, this is my favorite principal?
Like, I think part of it is always be like I just say grassroots, I call it, but just basically being in the being around the students, seeing their needs, making sure I take care of the teachers, and just relationships. You know what I mean? It's 100% building relationships. That's one of my parents down there, the students down there. Not just they do a superb job. Not just them, but I just know I have 605 students today, and I know most of them. I know their mothers. If I type mama in my phone, like 70 people, so I'm at every football game, basketball game, all those things. So just building relationships, I feel like that's the way, and that's why I tell. But when a shooting happened at Antioch, I told my teacher we could get like 10 more SROs, and I don't know if that would stop because it's relationships. We got to make sure somebody's stressed. I need to be connected to a teacher so they can have a conversation, so we can do that. So that's the thing that I'm doing is constantly building relationships with my teachers, taking care of, connecting with the parents in the community, and making sure my kids are on point.
And to that, because that is my parents' principal, and he is very visible. I see him all the time. He's sending out communication all the time. Anything that's going on with the school, he's calling, he's emailing. They send out a newsletter every week, even during the summer. If there's something going on, you would think you would not be hearing from the principal, but he's still keeping up some form of communication with us. He's walking the halls. He's at after school events. He's at, football games, sports events, but he's also at, my son was in the band. He's at the band concert. Like, we see him all the time. And that is a big difference from even, again, myself when I was in school. I never saw my head principal unless it was a pep rally or a football game. He's very visible. And I think that's what the difference is. And like you said, with building the relationship, because my son sees him so much, he knows that he can go to him if he has an issue. I don't have to tell him, it's already handled. And now I'm finding out about it after the fact. They've already taken care of it.
I've talked quite a bit. My name is Bailey, honestly. By now. I've never personally met my principal. She's new shoulder year. Never met her that whole year that I've been here last year. So props to you. And I went to Procom for summer school, so I can vouch for Mr. Pye, say, he was always talking to the summer school kids or active in the building. I really find him. So. But my question to the SROs are, you're the first SRO I've met who said Carson, who didn't walk around with your hand on your guard. It make me feel uncomfortable as soon as you walked into the building. Is there some kind of special training that you guys should implement to make more SROs personable, or to make them feel less like they're just constantly looking, like they're just watching every individual expecting danger instead of like trying to just be helpful?
I think it starts with the initial just interview process, because a lot of times the resource officers that are going to come to the school are usually patrol officers. Usually, as far as Metro National Police Department, how it worked in the past, you have to work the streets for like 3 years, and then at that point you'll be able to interview for other positions within the department. I've always had it hard for young people. I'm a young person at heart myself, to be honest with you. I get my children in trouble a lot of times with their mom, because I'm the one that's starring the mess, and then they like it bad. But nevertheless, I think the vetting process of making sure that they really have a heart for young people, and they're not just coming there because the shift works good. They have weekends off and they get off early, but like you're actually there for the young people, that you're there in the hallways, making relationships with those young people, going to the sporting events. Right, I go to all my sporting events. I'm a Pearl Cone diehard Firebird. Like you talk anything about Pearl Cone, like I'm gonna stand 10 toes on it. Like I love my Pearl Cone, and it reminds me of my school. I'm from Florida originally, and it reminds me of my school that I went to, where a lot of times people had this negative comment on, where like, oh man, all the thugs go there, all the like no, like Pearl Cone have very enriched young people. We have great pathways. We sent out a couple of years ago, we went 15-0. We sent out 25 young men to play football collegiately to continue their education. So it's a lot of great things that are coming through for a lot of young people that are going to Bridges of Belmont. They're going to Bridges of Belmont. We got a great health science program. We have audio productions. We in fact, we're incorporating a new gaming institution now. The gaming is a big thing where young people can make money off of gaming, right? So I think just having a heart for the young people, it starts with that initial process and making sure that that process is very thorough and coming back, and not just allowing just anybody to come to school, because they have to really be out for the young people. That's yeah.
But
I can talk about my experience. So I did almost 9 years with the NYPD, then another 22 years with Suffolk County, so 30 years plus. And I decided I want to work with kids. And what Nashville did was it went across the country with a nationwide program to look for lateral officers. So when you talk about how can we change the type of police officers that becomes an SRO, I think Nashville is doing that, because they're not just looking locally, they're looking nationally. They're looking for more qualified people, not more qualified, but people that are more in tune with what we're about. For example, we just came off of 2 weeks of running the SRO summer camp with 4th graders, 5th graders, 6th graders. If you can't hang out with 150 kids that are all sticky and screaming, this is not the place for you. So that's up front and they're honest with that. So you're going to attract those people now that have that kind of patience and understanding. So I think when you're upfront with changing the culture and focusing on kids, you're going to find people that are focused on kids.
but
Okay, well, my name is Nyla. I really don't need the mic. I'm pretty loud. But my question is for Mr. Pratt. Pratt. My apologies. Dr. Pratt, sorry. My question is for you. You said relationship over rules, right? Okay. Do you apply that when you go to when people apply to your school to be teachers? Do you do you look at the teachers that, say for instance, it's a teacher that has poor relationship, doesn't like kids, but can get A's on A's on A's on A's on A's and bring the school board, whatever you call it, the rates up? Or would you rather do the teacher that has a amazing relationship with kids, and betters the kids personally, but their grades is not always straight A's?
Yeah, I say it's a hiring thing. You say hire the attitude, train the skill. So I'm gonna hire somebody with great attitude. I can teach a teacher how to teach. We don't like to do that, but it's the main thing is hire somebody with a positive attitude. And I want to kind of reaffirm relationship before, so not overrule, but before. But you got to have a relationship. No one's going to care about the rules that you're enforcing if they don't believe that you got their best interest. So we have to be able to, those teachers have to have to make sure, even as an assistant principal, some of the things I would do with a teacher would call and say, this student is acting up in the classroom. Pull the student out and I say, why are you tripping on Miss So-and-so? She likes you. And the student practiced it. Now, if the student did that, I knew that it's not going to be any learning going on because the student believes the teacher doesn't even like them. So we got to work on relationship piece. So I'm constantly there working on relationship piece. And the main thing is, to his question, is I need to model what I want to see. I'm telling the teachers, I'm over old school. And if I can maintain relationships, then you have to. And Stratford has the distinction. We had 2 teachers leave for another metro school in 2 years. We have the highest retention rate. We keep all of our teachers since I've been. And the main thing is because we're focusing on relationship. You know what I mean? We're focusing on, and that's the same thing with with our SROs. We had a situation where a student was acting up. He punched the wall. He wasn't going to graduate. He's upset. and he was yelling in the hallway. And I was kind of like, hey, he gotta go. I was looking at the SROs, and that was just where I was at. You know, and that SRO said, can I take him in office and talk to him? So he de-escalated me. I was there saying, looking at him like, man, you got to take him away or whatever. So, you know, we got to make sure everybody is trained and restored, because like when you only have hammer in your hand, everything looks like a nail. You want to hit it. You want to make sure somebody goes to jail. You want to make sure. So I had to catch myself within that too, even. So, you know, it's just a whole creepy, constant checking with y'all.
About that.
Hey y'all, I'm Stephen Watts. Sorry, up in the back. So I know like a lot of the data around SROs is kind of complicated. Like, so from what I've seen, SROs legitimately improve safety in schools, but they also increase things like discipline, suspensions, etc. So that's from the data I've seen, right? I don't have a kid in school. I don't have any of that. So what I'm interested in learning about, because what I know is that discipline can also represent a different kind of unsafety, right? Like of having kids not in school, need to be in school, et cetera, et cetera. So my question is, I know you said that we're leaning more towards restorative stuff, but what is the relationship between SROs and discipline? And I'm specifically thinking as a system, like not as y'all, because like I know y'all are here specifically because y'all are exceptional examples of SROs. So I'm specifically thinking as a system, what's the relationship?
Yeah, so Metro National Police Department, I'm not sure as far as what those statistics show. I would go out on a limb to say that statistically, it's probably been a drop in arrests pertaining to officers outside of things that we have to arrest on, which are like guns and then mass violence of threat towards the school, like I'm gonna blow the school up, I'm gonna shoot the school up. Like, and even with that, I know we were talking, there's a lot of partnership with the juvenile justice system where like just because a student goes to, you know, lock up for that time, that they're still gonna try to give them the proper resources, the mental health, things of that nature, like, hey, why are you making these threats, you know, to the school? So as far as discipline, let's say a kid are disorderly. It doesn't mean, like, say they're gonna go. Like, say Dr. Pratt said it was a young man just punching the wall, disorderly. You know, causing this disruption to school, causing a scene, causing, you know, people to stop education. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna go to the juvenile. So there are a lot of times that we'll pull young people to the side, pull them to our office. Hopefully, you get more with sugar than you get with vinegar. So hopefully we put enough sugar out there that during those hard times, that if a student does have a blackout moment, that we can say, hey, this fine. You know, and I've had that great relationship with them where I can pull them into my office and they don't have to make that trip to juvenile. And so I'm on board with you that I'd rather see them in school, because if high school, if you're in a suspension, a lot of times they're gonna go and they're gonna become delinquent in those neighborhoods. They're gonna get with their buddies. And so I'd rather all the time have you in school than out of school. And sometimes, I mean, being very transparent, there are times over my career where I've had, you know, administrators or teachers that maybe that child is a troublesome child to them, right? You're disrupting their class every day, and they want us to take them away, like, hey, do something with them. And there are times where like, no, we can't, you know, or we're not, you know, and let me talk to them. Let's get them the proper resources that they need. And I'm able to come to some classroom, sometimes when teachers are having an issue and say, hey man, like, bro, like, what's going on? Like, come holler at me real quick. Let's take a walk. You know, and then they have a little chill out moment, and then they're able to come back. You know, I actually have a youth court at my school. I know that they have it at White's Creek. It's actually a program where Judge Calloway with the juvenile justice system here in Nashville comes in and she swears out. These young people are sworn, and they're actually an extension of her cabinet. And so the program consists of young people who are ultimately of a peer of this jury of their own peers, where like they may have an issue in the school, like maybe disruption in the class with a teacher, and the teacher didn't get along. So the principal will refer them to juvenile courts, where there's actually a restorative measures put in place to say, hey, how can we maybe have this student and teacher maybe have a sit down moment and hash out their differences, or if maybe the student was just dead wrong, maybe the student to come to the realization and say, hey, yeah, what can I do to maybe get back into good graces, and maybe write a letter, sometimes they may write a song, maybe they do something that they like that will actually connect back with that teacher. So those are things that we have at Pearl Collin High School, where, like I said, we're not really taking young people out. And I think across the board with Metro National Police Department, I would like to say go out on the limb. I'm not sure what those statistics are, that I would think over the years you've probably seen a decline in arrest. Like you say, before back in the day, it's probably snatch and grab. You have a fight, you're probably going to juvenile. But just because you have a fight doesn't mean you're going to juvenile. I used to fight all the time when I was in school, and I can only imagine if I had a juvenile record because I was fighting in school because I had a little mishap with another person. So.
Hey, my question is for the SROs. I know you said when you're recruiting, you recruit nationally. My question is, and maybe as police officers as well, is there any psychological testing for SROs? I guess get your police officers, the police officers too, that happens before you're placed in a SRO position? Do they do any type of test? Because just because you're good with kids doesn't mean you need to be around kids. And I'm just saying, as a peer, you might be good with kids during the daytime, you need to be a predator at night. I don't know you. I'm just saying. So, are there any tests and training around that type of training that goes into you becoming an SRO and being placed at a school or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, just coming onto the department itself, a lot of times you're going to have those psychological evaluations. So hopefully they're able to kind of sort through somebody that may be a predator of some sort. But with that said, as far as the school resource officer side of it, every year we do have a school resource officer in service that provide, we'll have trainers come in and we'll go back to the table with a lot of things that may need to change. Maybe we need to look at this trend that is happening. So we do have in service, and even department-wise, we have in service every year. And they bring in things of we talk about sex trafficking with young people. I think it was Truckers Against Trafficking. I think is a organization that's out there, and I think that we have some training with them as well where we get these certifications. So there's a lot of certifications that are in place. We have CIT, critical intervention training, pertaining to mental health. It talks about LGBTQ, and more so just having not stigmatizing young people, being slow to speak, quick to listen, peeling back those layers, understanding mental health, how to speak to young people pertaining to mental health, schizophrenia, things of that nature. So we're actually even looking at the brain. So we're having those type of trainings on an annual basis. So with that said, hopefully that in itself, I mean, you can't, I guess you can't call the future of what a person may do. I mean, unfortunately, you have on any job, that it may be a person, a bad apple. You would hope a person of our profession would definitely take that at a higher esteem and not, be in our profession. We don't like it as well when we have persons that are not good police officers, because it puts a black eye on us, and then we have to kind of sort through and kind of try to build those relationships back as well. So annually we do have trainings. In a couple of weeks we have SRO in service a couple of days. They have a week-long 40 hours of CIT training. So these are things that are put in place to hopefully, get those right people, those right-minded folks.
I think the easiest answer to your question is that even though I came from multiple agencies, when I applied to become an SRO, I had to go through the entire selection process like I was a brand new officer, that I was never a police officer before, and that was psychological testing. I had to sit with a psychiatrist and get interviewed and pass that test before they would allow me to enter into an abbreviated academy and then go through all the training. So there's so many different layers and facets where your peers, your supervisors, you're watching, we're all looking at each other and evaluating each other and training. So if there were issues, you would see them pop up. And like Officer Pye said, one bad apple, right, spoils the vine. So, we're parents too. So the last thing we're going to do is ever allow something like that to come around us. And then we would see it. But yes, I had to get through psychological training to get on this job. And even if you're with the department, you have to go through an interview process to get here. So it's just not, randomly anybody just wants to is going to be accepted. You have to be meet a criteria and go through that process.
Yeah. Even during my process, when I came on 13 years ago, it was like 6,000 applicants. A lot of people want to be in law enforcement back then. I think it's a shortage now. A lot of people are not coming to law enforcement like they were back in the day. But even in that, it was like 6,000 applicants. So in fact, like they were sorted through having this 500 question psychological evaluation, and then you have a liar's test, whatever they call that. When you're sitting through all of this, I mean, they're fine calling. So yeah, it's pretty extensive.
And one other thing, a lot of people used to think back in the day that SROs, retired on duty, the guy that really doesn't want to do much. I think we work harder during the summer than we do during the school year because that's when we train. That's when we run the camps. That's when, one of the things I'm doing as a side note is we have a basketball tournament. So I'm assistant coach with that. So there's a lot of stuff that we do that regular patrol officers aren't doing. As specialized training and a lot of stuff that we volunteer for, like officer supply with all his games and stuff like that, because we know that those, bottom line, it's relationships.
Yeah.
You can come up with any solutions of a problem that you want to pick, but ultimately it's the human connection. If we don't have those relationships, if we don't meet those connections of human beings with one another, no amount of equipment or training is going to really matter.
Thank you. I had one question. So earlier we were talking about it a little bit, but my question is for Officer Jack. If you could talk a little bit more about your time at the NYPD and how it differs from what it sounds like the very empowering restorative work that you're doing here in that school. Because the thing that I've heard about the practice this year differ greatly today from what the NYPD does and the school youth agents there. So would just love to hear a little bit more about your experience.
So I became a police officer in the New York City Police Department in 1994. If you can imagine how different it is today from then. So if we're going to be transparent, those negative things that we imagine, they were pretty close. And how it's evolved. And continually, it's continuing to evolve. After my time there, I went to a suburban department, and guess what? One SRO for 5 or 6 school districts. They're not in schools. They're not talking to kids. All right, they show up if there's an event or a situation. And when I was in the NYPD, they would put 3 police officers in high school, but we would basically stay in the break room and never come out. We were there just if something bad happened, and we didn't even want to engage with the kids because we were afraid of a liability issue or starting something or being part of something or seeing something. So we were there for the shootout or the major brawl. So there was no attempt or even consideration to make connections with people. It was just about surviving through the day. But now, the way things are going, the way that has evolved, and the way this organization, this city, this agency does things, it really is different. And I really don't think people realize how lucky they are, because this is not everywhere in the United States of America. One of the things, I just went to dare training, 2 weeks of dare training, 8 hours. In New York State, only a handful of schools still do dare. They just gave up. They don't think it works. And they're pulling it back instead of adding to. So I think the priority of making a decision to protect our children, and then the demand that or school resource officers actually interact with our children is something that's actually unique in this special.
Perfect. Well, very rich conversation with varied perspectives. We deeply appreciate y'all and your experiences and the conversation. We are going to wrap this one up. Let's give them a hand clap. Definitely appreciate y'all attending.